Hello everyone, I'm PyMittens. If you don't know me, I'm a Crab Hatamoto, and I'm pretty active on the L5R Discord server, so if you're on there you might have seen me around. This video is meant to be sort of an educational video for players who are trying to get better at the game. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be reviewing a game that I played against another Crab player. It will not be a Crab mirror match. I'm going to be playing Crane in this game. This is the first time I'm doing a video like this, so if anyone has any feedback or questions that didn't get answered in the video or anything like that, just go ahead and leave a comment and I'll respond to it. So the first thing I want to do in the video is take a look at the deck lists. So this is the Crab deck list that my opponent is going to be playing. And as you can see by the title, it is one of Joe's deck lists. So if you don't know Joe, he is one of our Crab Hatamoto on the Discord, Joe from Cincinnati, and he's a really good player, so his decks are always going to be a pretty safe bet if you want a good Crab deck. And I want to point out also that if you're new to this game and you don't really know how to build a deck yet, then I highly encourage finding a really good player and just copying one of their deck lists and just playing some games with that. Net decking is something that is kind of encouraged to sort of just get a handle on the way that the deck works. And then once you know how the deck works, you can start trying to tweak it on your own, like adding some cards, taking some away, seeing how things work. So let's start out by looking at the provinces here. The typical provinces are... So, Shameful Display is a province that you see in just about every deck. That province is one of the best provinces in the game, so you'll be seeing that a lot as the Void province in deck lists. Meditations on the Tau as well is kind of just the best option right now for a Fire province. You see sometimes people run Night Raid, but I think Meditations is more consistent. It is kind of one of the weaker provinces in the row, so if we do get a better option, you might see that get switched out. Manicured Garden. Some decks run Fertile Fields as well, but I think in the Crab deck that splashes Unicorn, you definitely want Manicured Garden because you need that fate for all of your attachments and conflict characters. The last two provinces here, Ancestral Lands and Flooded Wastes. So this is something we were trying out during this period of time, right when like Pack 4 came out, which had Flooded Wastes in it, I believe. So usually we run Defend the Wall as the Earth Province and put that in the row, and then have Rally to the Cause under the Stronghold, but we tried switching that out, putting Flooded Wastes in the row and Ancestral Lands on the Stronghold. Ancestral Lands is really good under the Stronghold because it has a ton of skill. The problem, though, is that when you're playing Crab, your opponent usually isn't even going to make it to your Stronghold, so in a lot of games this actually just doesn't matter. So I think we're kind of going back to the Defend the Wall and Rally to the Cause. Flooded Waste just doesn't really do enough in the row. Defend the Wall is slightly better. So I think you might not see this province lineup. But it's definitely not bad. So let's move on to the rest of the deck. So the basic idea of the Crab deck is you have a lot of sacrifice mechanics, like your Steadfast Witch Hunter, Vanguard Warrior, Way of the Crab, lots of ways to sacrifice characters for some kind of benefit. And then you also have a lot of good holdings and rebuild to bring them back, and a lot of good attachments as well. So what you typically want to do in a Crab deck is play one really big character at some point and then just put a lot of attachments on them. And since Crab has a lot of ways to stop characters from dying, such as Reprieve, Iron Mine, you can rebuild Iron Mine, you can use Vanguard Warrior to put more fate on them. You can just keep your big character with a lot of attachments around for a long time and get a lot of value out of the attachments. Such as Spyglass, Talisman of the Sun, Watch Commander, all really powerful attachments. Since we have more Shugenja now with Kuniyori, Kudaka, etc., We can also run Cloud the Mind, which is a really strong card. It just blanks the character's text box. So with all of the new characters coming out, a lot of them have like really strong abilities, like Togashi Mitsu is a good example. Cloud the Mind is just a really good card to have. I'm going to talk more later on about like what cards you want to see on turn 1, what you should be, looking for in your mulligan, stuff like that. So there's not too much else I want to point out here. This is pretty typical for a crab deck. I think one other thing we're changing is we might be seeing less Spreading the Darkness because losing 2 honor is actually pretty big. We might go back to Bonsai and Katanas instead. Also, with the last 2 packs coming out, we have Kuni Lab and Yasuki Broker to work with, so we might see those make an appearance somewhere in the deck. But other than that, this is a pretty typical crab deck. So let's go ahead and move on to the Crane deck that I'm going to be playing. So this is the Crane deck. I do want to say that I am a crab player. I mostly play crab, so this Crane deck is probably not ideal. I just kind of threw it together based on what I saw some good Crane players playing. There's not a whole lot I want to say about this. I was trying out like the Fusui Disciple. I'm not sure how good that card is, but it seems interesting at least. Miyamoto's Fury, we'll probably see that card being cut in favor of Hawk Tattoo as well. But I think Hawk Tattoo was out at this point. I can't remember what pack it was in. But I forgot about that card and put Miyamoto's Fury in instead, which is fine. Fury's a good card as well. The other thing about cutting Fury, though, is that it opens up your restricted list slot, so you can put in like a policy debate. One thing I should probably mention is that, like, as a crab, when I'm playing against Crane, there are certain cards that I'm always like watching out for. Like most decks will have Noble Sack and Admit Defeat in them, usually just as one-time cards, but occasionally you'll see more than one of those. Those are really big cards because they can just, like Admit Defeat can just straight up win a conflict for Crane, and Noble Sack can potentially win the game if they can hit like a really big character with it. So you have to sort of be watching out for those cards at every point during the game. Like if they're attacking and you're only defending with one character, you gotta make sure you know that you're not going to get Admit Defeat. If they dishonor one of your big characters and they have an honored character who's not as big, then you have to watch out for Noble Sack, like maybe try to get an Iron Mine in play with Rebuild, or put a Reprieve on your guy so it doesn't get killed. Let Go as well. You sort of have to know that a lot of times when you play a big attachment, if they have a Let Go, they'll probably play it. So you sort of have to play around that, like sometimes I'll play an attachment that I don't really care if it gets let go and try to get them to sort of waste the let go on it, so then I can play an attachment that I actually want to stick. And a good player will see that and save their let go for the attachment that really matters. The main conflict characters are pretty good as well. You have to watch out for Steward of Law for shame combos. Political Rival is always really big when it comes down, so you need to watch out for that. But yeah, I think that's about all I have to say about this deck. So with that, we'll go ahead and get right into the review. So I didn't talk about the Crane provinces. Probably not too important. Entrenched Position is going to be the Stronghold province. I think that's pretty typical. You might see Rally maybe. But yeah, I think Entrenched Position is pretty typical. That's something you want to keep in mind as well. Provinces are really important in this game. So he won the coin flip, so he's going to be going second. That's something I should probably point out. Going second is pretty much always preferable in Legend of the Five Rings, because you get the extra fate. And one fate may not seem like much, but it's a pretty big deal. Going second is also really good during the conflict phase because it means you get the last conflict, so you get to wait to see what your opponent's going to do before you do what you're going to do. which can be a pretty big advantage, especially if you're playing crab. Like, for example, if you have a Mountain Does Not Fall in hand as second player, you can play it during the first conflict, or even before the first conflict, and then participate in both defenses that turn, and then get an attack in as well. That's really good on someone like a Borderlands defender who can't be bowed on defense, so you don't have to worry about anything. So mulligans here. So let's see. I think I keep the Whisper. Okay, I keep the Whisper and the Nourishma. Yeah. So whenever you're playing against Crab, one thing I should probably say real quick is, again, since I'm a Crab player, a lot of the advice that I'll be giving during this will be sort of focused on the Crab's perspective. But I'm going to try to put, some general stuff in there as well. So hopefully it'll be helpful to everyone. When you're playing against Crab, you generally want to have a low-cost character at the start. So, like, you definitely keep the Whisperer there, right? The Whisperer or the Nourishma or both. I figured I would just keep both, I guess. Looking back, I might have pitched Nourishma as well. I don't know. It probably isn't gonna matter too much. Brash Samurai is a good card. The reason you want to keep a low coster, I guess I didn't mention that, is the Way of the Crab. If you get like all high cost characters and Crab gets like a Kaio Envoy, they can just play that, and then you have to either play around Way of the Crab and just not play anything, or play something with no fate, or risk just losing the game pretty much. So likewise, Crab also likes to see low-cost characters. So when Crab is doing a mulligan, and I kind of wish I could see his face-down cards here, but unfortunately I cannot. When Crab is doing a mulligan, you pretty much always want to get at least one low-cost character. Like a Kaio Envoy is ideal. So you can just like play that on turn one and say, okay, you don't know if I have the Way of the Crab, so it's up to you to play around it, right? Just make your opponent have to do that extra thinking. It's also good if you can get like one opening that I really like is a Shrewd Yasuki and an Iron Mine, because that means they can't assassinate him. So you can play him with like 2 fate, and he can just start generating you card advantage early, which is really nice. Yeah, holdings are good, keeper initiates are good. Well, it depends on the holding. Iron Mines are good, keeper initiates are good. But yeah, so moving into the conflict mulligan, I think I keep the Voice of Honor. Yeah, and just get rid of everything else. Voice of Honor is good. Want to be able to cancel things. I get a Let Go and a Political Rival, which are both really good here. Just cards you always want to see. So to talk about the Crab conflict mulligan real quick, and again, unfortunately, I can't see what his cards are, but in the Crab mulligan, I like to see Way of the Crabs if I have a low cost guy. Not Way of the Crabs plural, but just one. You don't really want more than one ever, because it's one per round, unless you're gonna do like a Way of the Crab in Fate phase and then another one in Conflict phase. That's a tricky play you can do. One Way of the Crab is nice. Any conflict characters are always good. The Crab deck, as we saw earlier, runs a lot of one-cost conflict characters, which are really nice to have. Like a Skirmisher is good, a Wayfinder is good. Nezumi, probably better later, but still fine early. Let's see, what else? Spyglass is always good to see, because that means you're going to be drawing more cards. And depending on the matchup, Spreading the Darkness, that's a good card as well. Depending on the matchup, you might want like a Court Games. Kind of depends. Most other cards you're just gonna mulligan away though. So let's see what we have here. So the crab player flips Iron Mine, Mia Satoshi, Kaio Envoy, and Kudaka. So pretty good flip actually, I think, from crab. Has the Kaio Envoy, like I was saying, that's always good to see. Satoshi is a really good card. I think Satoshi's actually really good in this matchup particularly because he can try and find your Imperial Palace, and keeping favor away from the crane is really important because they have Censure sometimes. I'm not running Censure in this deck, but some of them do play Censure. And more importantly, they have Yoshi, who can really just take off if you can keep the favor locked down. So Satoshi, pretty good. The other thing Satoshi does, which Crab really likes, is he gets Keeper Initiates into your discard pile so you can start using their ability when you get the Earth Ring. And Holdings as well. He can discard like a favorable grounds and then you can rebuild it if you need to. So, pretty good card. Kudaka is a really good card as well, but I think I would probably prefer to play Satoshi here. So my play here would probably be Kaio Envoy, Satoshi, 2 Fate, and then if Crane has already passed by that point, you just activate Satoshi maybe. You might even play Satoshi first, seeing the low cost flip from Crane here. You're not really going to get a great Way of the Crab probably, so you might just play Satoshi first and use the ability so there's one less face down card. That's a good tip actually for Satoshi is you always want to keep track of how many Imperial cards you have left in your deck, but the problem is if you have face down cards in provinces, one of those could be an Imperial card. So you have to be careful. Like the more face down cards you have, the less good it is essentially to use Satoshi. So sometimes you want to just use it like first or second action in the Dynasty phase when you only have like 0 to 1 face down cards. Yeah, so I would probably play Satoshi 2 Fate, use the ability, then play Kaio Envoy, then pass, assuming Crane gets the passing Fate, which I think Crane... I do take the passing Fate here, and I think since Crane is first player, you can kind of expect that to happen. So I'm going to play the Brash Samurai with 1 Fate. I think I probably should have also played the Whisper. Well, we'll see what happens here. So I play the Samurai with 1 Fate. I think he plays the Envoy. We'll see. Ooh, he plays Kudaka with 2 Fate. Wow. I didn't remember that. Yeah, so playing Kudaka instead of playing Satoshi. Yeah, so let's talk about that. So Kudaka, if you don't, unfortunately I can't hover over them and see the ability here, but Kudaka's ability, if you aren't familiar, is when you claim the air ring, you can gain 1 Fate and draw a card. So she just kind of builds up that incremental advantage, which is why she's a good card to have. At 3 military, 4 political, she's pretty decent on stats as well, and 1 glory is pretty nice to have. 1 glory is good because I think anything above glory is just kind of becomes bad. Unless you're like Crane or something and you have a lot of ways to honor. Because there are so many ways of dishonoring that it's likely you'll just get dishonored and then get -2/-2, which is pretty bad. So, like I was saying before, the reason I would want to play Satoshi here is because you can try and find that palace as quickly as possible, which again I think is important against Crane. But yeah, I think by playing Kudaka, he's just essentially saying that he's going to try to just grind out that slower advantage here. So we'll see what happens. Again, so the choice for me there, after he played Kudaka was to buy one of these cheap guys or pass. If I pass, I get the passing fate no matter what. And one thing that I am thinking is I have this political rival in hand, so if I have more fate, I can potentially play him, put some fate on him, and do an attack with that. One thing that I do sort of have to watch out for is the assassinate, which I think does end up happening. Brash Samurai is always kind of a magnet for assassination, unfortunately. He's just one of those cards. But yeah, in hindsight, I think it might have been better to just play the Doji Whisperer. I think Crab still wants to play the Envoy, so if he takes the passing fate, you're just kind of okay with that. You might even just play Narishma as well. Not sure. But yeah, let's move on here. We're both going to bid 5. Should probably say something about that. That's pretty much the meta right now. Like, you just bid 5 on the first turn. Having those extra cards is like really big. So so what I probably should have done here is honored somebody, so that Voice of Honor would be turned on. I guess it won't end up mattering anyway. But yeah, we're gonna see me do a conflict here. I think I go fire. Yeah, I'm gonna go fire at this Iron Mine. Unfortunately for me, I find Shameful Display. Not much you can do about that. It's just the way, the way things went. That does mean he's going to get to honor this Caillou Envoy, which is pretty bad because it means it's very difficult now for me to turn on Voice of Honor until this Envoy leaves play. We are going to see him use Shameful as the first action. I should probably go back actually and talk a little bit about the ring choice here. So I think ring choice is like a really big part of this game. Like, one thing that I see a lot is less experienced players will choose a ring, and I'm just like not really sure why they're choosing that ring instead of a different one. And I think like the extra little advantage that it builds up is really important. So let's look at that. So the ring choices here. So if I go, I obviously don't want to go air ring because. So the main thing I'm thinking about with this attack is the Brash Samurai might not be able to win an attack on his own. Like, I'm not 100% sure I'm going to win this attack. He could defend with both. He could have some cards to play. He could assassinate me. There are a lot of things he could do. So I don't want to go air or earth, because airing, if he wins that, he triggers Kudaka. Earthring, if he wins on defense, then he gets his Keeper Fate, which is not huge, but is still important. Water I just don't care about because it doesn't do anything on this board. That's pretty obvious, I guess. And then the only other option is Void. So I don't really care too much about Void here. If I win Void, then I probably just Void Kudaka, and it just like doesn't matter until next turn, which is fine. One less fate on Kudaka, but since I am playing against Crab, there are going to be a lot of ways of keeping these characters alive. And if he voids me, it's just a Brash Samurai, like I don't really care. What he's probably going to do is go air or earth. Both of those are just better ring choices here, I think. So that it kind of just comes down to fire as like the only good choice here. Fire, I can dishonor Kudaka. If I win, I can honor my Brash Samurai if he's not already honored because of this Shameful. And And the important thing I think here is that I don't care if he wins this on defense. So we do see him use Shameful. I'm going to honor my Brash Samurai with his ability. And then this is where he plays the Assassinate. And, I mean, it's unfortunate that he drew the Assassinate, but not much you can do about it. Just have to let it happen. I'm going to use my Storehouse to draw cards, the Cloud the Mind, which I cannot play right now because I have no Shugenja in play. He will win the firing on defense, that's fine. So I have enough here to play a political rival and then also a Steward of Law. So what I'm hoping is that he attacks and finds one of my air provinces so I get more fate, so I can put more fate on the rival. I think he finds... Yeah, he's going to actually find Shameful Display here, so trading Shameful Displays. This is pretty good for me. This means I can play my political rival and I can dishonor Kudaka. Oh, right. It happened again. So, yeah, I made this mistake during the game, and then I assumed he was going political there because Kudaka is more political than military, but I didn't actually look at the ring and see that it was military. So, kind of just a mistake that I made. I was going to play the political rival anyway, though, so I think it's fine. He actually has no fate here, so there's no way for him to play a conflict character. So I'm going to play Steward of Law into the conflict, and then probably, whoops, oh, maybe I'll cut that out. And then probably play the Bonsai here. He's going to pass. I'm going to Shameful Display to honor my Steward. Unfortunately, since Steward is in the conflict, it means that I won't be able to dishonor him. But that's not a big deal. I actually used Bonsai first, so I am winning now. And winning this this air ring is really big because it means Kudaka won't get to trigger her ability. So I definitely want to try to win if I can. Again, like I said, I think air ring is always what he's going to go for here because of Kudaka. Either air or earth. Earth could be fine also. I'm going to use Shameful to honor the Steward. He's going to pass. I'm going to pass, and that will be it. So one thing that I do have to worry about now is this Kaio Envoy. Since he has one fate, he will be sticking around until the fate phase, which means he could do a fate phase Wave a Crab on my political rival. However, even if I void him, he can still Iron Mine. Well, actually, I'm going to break the Iron Mine on this attack here, but he could have Rebuild, he could have, well, not Reprieve, he has no fate. Yeah, so Void might actually be a good choice here. Again, you don't want to go Water because it doesn't do anything on this board. You could unbow your Steward, but you only have one conflict left, so it's either Earth or Void here. Earth is kind of just always a good ring, just to keep yourself ahead in the hand size. It looks like I'm going to go Void. I think that is the correct choice because I can break this Shameful Display, I can kill this Kaio Envoy unless he has a Rebuild. And even if he does have a Rebuild, I'm making him spend a Rebuild, which is pretty good. Ideally you want to save those Rebuilds for when you need to like save a really big character or get like a favorable ground or rebuild a palace or something like that. So forcing him to spend it here would be pretty good. I think it's actually correct to just not spend it if you have it, because all you're getting out of that is a political rival and you're spending like 2 cards to do it, so doesn't seem very good. The other thing I want to point out here is he's already down to 6 honor. We've had an unopposed conflict and an assassinate, so he's getting a little bit low on honor, while I am still at 10, so I'm still in a fine position. So even though he spent that honor, he didn't get too much out of it, really. Let me pause here. So I am going to get the Imperial Favor since I claim 2 rings to 1. That's pretty important in case I find Yoshi this turn. I can play him if I want. I think I'm going to discard the Narishma here and keep the Whisper. Maybe discard both. So I think the correct play is probably keep the Whisper. Again, against Crab, it's always good to have those low-cost characters to prevent the Way of the Crab, like I said. Although, if I really needed to, I could eat away the Crab with the political rival, since he has no fate, but that would feel pretty bad. So yeah, I do keep the Whisper. He's going to keep Satoshi. I think that's correct. Like I was saying earlier, I think you definitely want to play Satoshi in this game to try and find that palace. So I'm going to find another storehouse. So these storehouses have been really good this game. Like, just being able to get that extra hand advantage is always nice. I also find a Brash Samurai and a Fusui Disciple. So this card, if you don't know, it is a 3-cost, 1/2, 2 glory. The ability is, actually, let me just bring them up here. So, action, the player who has the earring in his or her claimed ring pool chooses an ordinary character he or she controls. You select one, honor or dishonor that character. So this card, I've seen some Crane players run it. It's definitely not a bad card, but I don't know how good it is either. You're paying 3 for pretty low stats. Although he does have 2 glory, so if you can honor him, that's good. The ability is interesting, and we're going to see some interesting use of it this game as well. I'm going to play him this turn. I think I play the Whisper first. Let's talk about the Crab flip as well. So Crab flips a second Satoshi and 2 holdings. So I actually don't have to worry about Way of the Crab during the Dynasty phase here. He could still play a conflict character later and Way of the Crab me. So playing the Whisper is definitely correct, I think. He also sees a favorable ground on this broken province and a Kurata district. So Kurata district, like I was saying, is a really strong card, but in some matchups it doesn't do a whole lot. And one of those matchups is the Crane matchup. Crane players generally don't run a lot of attachments, and Cloud the Mind, you can't get rid of a Cloud the Mind with Kurata District because it targets an attachment on your opponent's character. So, not going to have too much use in this matchup. I have a Katana and a Fan in my hand, but what I'm going to do is I'm just not going to play them until this Kurata District is gone. So let's see. Flipping a second Satoshi is a little bit unfortunate. You'd rather see, like, maybe a Kaio Envoy or something. But it's fine. You're going to get to put an extra fate on him. Like I was saying earlier, so what I would do here... Ooh, he actually passes. I think this is actually a mistake. I think he's overvaluing the passing fate here. Not necessarily overvaluing it, but... So if you don't pass there, what happens? If Crane passes, Crane has 7 fate, but a pretty small board. Not too much smaller than yours, but definitely smaller. And especially going into next turn, we'll not have too many characters in play. So I think you can safely use your Satoshi dupe there. And then if Crane passes, you're just like, okay, you have a smaller board, that's fine. Like, Crane has literally 0 military skill right now, so the only conflict character that would give you military skill would be a Steward of Law. So I'm going to bid 5 again. Crane just likes to have a big hand, and I had more honor, so I could just do that. I'm going to go ahead and weigh the Crane the Disciple here. This is going to turn on my Voice of Honor, so now I can cancel any event that I need to cancel. Seeing an Assassinate and a Miyamoto's Fury is really good here as well. Means I can pretty much nullify most of the attacks this phase. So again, as Crab here, I think you definitely want to do that Satoshi dupe, because your goal as Crab is to just sort of build up that incremental advantage, right? Like, you're not really going to win in the short term usually. So you want to make sure you're going to win in the long term. So let's look at rings real quick. Crab is first player this turn. Let's see, we have Earth and Water with 1 fate on them. It could be worth it to go Water here. So generally if a ring has 1 fate on it, it's more interesting than a ring with no fate on it, even if the ability is less good. But the Water effect is actually pretty good here, because you can potentially bow out this political rival. Like, you do a military conflict and bow the political rival before he could even participate in a conflict. I think that's really strong. You could also go Earth Ring and then use Satoshi during the conflict to try and see some keeper initiates. I think I do like the Water attack better, actually. I think bowing the political rival is really good. Because that pretty much, he has no fate on him, so this is his last turn to do something. So if you just bow him here, then he only really got 1 turn. It looks like we actually see a past conflict, though. So this could be correct. If he goes into a face-down province, he risks hitting meditations. So this is a point I want to make, actually. Whenever you attack into a face-down province, you always want to be thinking about what you could be attacking into. So the 3 face-down here are Meditations, Manicured Garden, Fertile Fields. Not in that order. Actually, maybe in that order. I don't know what the order is. But yeah, that's one thing that you just get through experience. Like, if you play against a lot of Crane players, you'll see that, oh, all the good Crane players are running Shameful, Manicured, Fertile, and Meditations. Again, that might change at some point, but currently that's just like, an experience thing, knowing what certain clans are running. Hitting Meditations here is really bad with either of these characters, unless you have like a rebuild or a reprieve, then it could be fine. If you have a conflict character, though, I think you should probably play the conflict character and attack Water, because it forces some kind of response. Just do a military Water attack. Pretty much any response is good for Crab. Like, if I defend with the Disciple, that's good. Now he can't attack. If I assassinate you, okay, I spent an assassinate, that's good. If I Fury you, I spent a Fury on a conflict character, that's good. So I think if you have the conflict character here, you should definitely play it as Crab and go for the Water attack, military, at a face-down province. And put no fate on it, obviously, so if you hit Meditations, then you're just fine. We do see a past conflict, though. It would also pay for itself, since you would be getting 1 fate off of the Water ring. Let's see what I do here. I think I'm going to attack Karada District. So the good part is that the Water ring is not that interesting for me, because I can't bow any of his characters and I have no one to unbow. I'm actually just going to pass my conflict here. So the 2 rings that I would want to attack are the ones with fate on them. But currently, I don't really want to attack Earth, because if he wins an Earth defense, he can potentially get keepers from Satoshi and then also get the keeper fate. Um, and again, water just doesn't do anything for me on the current board. I also have to be careful about him attacking either Earth or air. I think I'm happy to pass the conflict here because I have a lot more political skill than military skill, so ideally for me, both of the conflicts this turn are just political conflicts. And I think that might actually happen. Although he might go. I think you might actually just go military here with Crab. I think that's probably the better option. Depends on what's in your hand, but the political rival not getting to defend is pretty big. Let's see what he decides to do. I have the favor here, so I'm actually not too worried about a military attack, I think. Since I have this Miyamoto's Fury and the Assassinate. I think he will actually find meditations. Yeah, he's going water. So yeah, I'm immediately highlighting or hovering over my disciple. It does find meditations. If I defend this, it will be with the disciple since he has the only military strength on my board. It looks like I am going to do that. I think that is correct. You want to prevent him from bowing this political rival so that you can get... Yeah, and... I mean, again, that is the risk you take when you attack a face-down province. I'm going to say, where's my Seeker of Air Fate? So I'm a little bit disappointed that he's hit exactly my two not air provinces, so I don't get my Seeker of Air Fate. You want to get that as early as possible, generally. But that's okay. Meditations means I'm going to get rid of the Fate on Kudaka, and I should be able to win this conflict, since I have the Miyamoto's Fury. Again, I don't really want to play the Katana because he can Kurata District, although that might be fine. He plays a Watch Commander. So I think now I Fury. I have a Let Go. Am I going to Let Go this? I don't think it's... Yeah, I'm going to Fury this. So I don't think it's correct to Let Go this. You generally want to save Let Go for the big attachments, the spyglasses, the talismans, the reprieves. Watch Commander is a really good attachment, but it's sort of just like... It's not going to win you the game all at once, or lose you the game rather, if you're playing against it. So spending a Let Go on that feels kind of bad. It might be correct if you're really low on honor, though. We're going to see a Wayfinder in the or actually, I think we see Wayfinder at home. No, plays Wayfinder into the conflict. Finds Fertile Fields. And so what he can actually do here is he can Gaijin Customs, which he is going to do. And yeah, I think I Voice of Honor that. It's a pretty good target for Voice of Honor. Yeah, do it. That is going to mean another honor loss from the Watch Commander, but I was at 8 honor, so I'm fine at 6 still. And again, as the Crab player, that's one thing I was mentioning earlier. Whenever you're playing against Crane, and they have more honored characters on the board than you do, especially when they have a huge hand like this, you have to sort of expect that they have at least one Voice of Honor and sort of play around that. It might have still been the right play for him. Like, he might have been thinking, okay, like, either he has the Voice of Honor, and then this just doesn't do anything, or he doesn't have the Voice of Honor, and then this is a really good play. I might have played the Wayfinder at home, so I could defend this attack. Yeah, I think that is actually a small mistake, not playing the Wayfinder at home, because playing it into the conflict doesn't really do anything for you, right? I don't know, unless he thought I could get one more skill with, like, a Steward of Law or something, but I was out of fate at that point. So yeah, I think you play the Wayfinder at home, because that way you can, again, defend against this conflict. I think he's going to favorable ground in the Satoshi. So if he had defended this with the Wayfinder and then had Satoshi, that would be 5. He would go up to 7 with his Stronghold. And then I would actually need another card. I would need to play like my Assassination here. And playing Assassinate would actually be pretty risky at this low amount of honor. And Court Games as well, so I'm going to Court Games to dishonor him. If the Wayfinder was there, he could have dishonored the Wayfinder instead. Again, I should probably talk about the ring choice here. So I don't really want to attack Earth or Air for the reasons I was mentioning earlier. If he manages to somehow win either of those rings, then I'm in a pretty bad spot. So I chose to attack Void here. I want to try and... So like I was saying, Crab have a lot of ways to save their characters. I want to force him to make a choice. Like either save the Satoshi or save the Kudaka. He could just have 2 saves in hand, but... Still, I'm forcing more saves to get played, so I think Void is good. Mia Satoshi is going to discard Iron Mine, Borderlands Defender, and Mia Satoshi. Obviously not an ideal mill there. When you're using him, you want to hit some keepers. And you definitely want to find the Palace here, because that's going to deny me the favor. But that's just luck. Can't really do anything about it. He does have 2 Satoshis in his province this turn. Provinces. He's going to play a fan here. I'm still winning, so I pass. Yep. Could have another Court Games to re-honor himself. Or even another fan, potentially. I think no matter what he does, though, I'm actually... Okay, he's going to assassinate my Whisper. I'm actually fine with him winning this conflict, though, because he's spending a lot of cards here, and I'm still actually going to keep the favor, because we're going to be tied now on rings. And Kudaka is going to die, I believe. The only thing he could have here would be, I guess he could have all 3 reprieves, because I only have 2 let goes, or he could have a rebuild. So the other reason that I should probably point out about not attacking the Earth Ring is the Earth Ring has 2 fate on it now, and I'm going to be the first player next turn, so I'll get the first chance to attack with that 2 fate Earth Ring. So you definitely want to be thinking about that, like going into the next turn, who's going to be first player, how much fate is going to be on what rings, that sort of thing. Because if you can ever get a 2 fate ring, like that's a lot of fate. It can sometimes even be worth it to attack a ring that's just completely useless just for the 2 fate. And Earth Ring is like actually really good, so I'll definitely want to be attacking that next turn. So to talk about the discards real quick, I think I'm going to discard the Brash Samurai to just try and dig deeper for a Yoshi here. He discards 1 Satoshi, so I was going to say, if you keep both Satoshis and the Karada District, you're only getting potentially 1 more character to play next turn. since the Satoshis would just put more fate on this guy. And that's pretty bad because it means you're going to have a pretty small board. Just a dishonored 0-4 Satoshi, basically. I would have actually strongly considered discarding the Karada District. I think he discards it next turn. I would have actually just discarded it this turn. You could keep both Satoshis. Like maybe you discard Karada, keep both Satoshis, or discard Karada, discard 1 Satoshi even. He has a lot of fate. He has 3 fate, and he'll be getting 7 more, so he'll be at 10. So you really don't want a dead flop here. You want to get some good cards that you can play. We'll see what he gets, though. So, Witch Hunter and a Keeper Initiate. So that's fine. You can play the Witch Hunter. Hopefully you have a conflict character by now that you can sacrifice. Or you can get the Keeper Initiate in play, maybe, and sacrifice that. Witch Hunter is a good card. I'm going to get an Artisan, a Whisper, and a Sami with 7 fate. So I could play the Artisan here and Cloud the Mind somebody, like the Witch Hunter potentially. I think I'm just going to play a Sami. I see he has no good Way of the Crab target. So I can just play a Sami 2 fate, maybe play a Whisper, just to prevent the conflict character Way of the Crab. I think I do play the Whisper here. I could have played the Artisan instead, but actually maybe I should have played the Artisan. Yeah, I think Artisan might have actually been better there because that turns on Cloud the Mind. I do still get the Passing Fate though. I'm going to drop my bid to 3 here since I'm on 6 honor. I figure if I bid 3 and he bids 1, which does happen, I'm losing 2 honor. I go down to 4. That's fine. He doesn't have a Watch Commander in play. He's already used 1. I can get some more cards. I find another Voice of Honor, which is pretty good. So I'll definitely want to Way of the Crane this Asami, just to, you know, make her have really big stats and to keep that Voice of Honor turned on. So as Crab here, again, it depends a lot on what he has in his hand, but I think I definitely would have wanted to bid a little bit higher, especially if I didn't have a conflict character. I'm actually going to do an air attack, it looks like. Okay, so let me talk about this real quick. So my choices here are to attack into Manicured Gardens, which I'm probably not going to break since it has that Karada District on it and I'm just attacking with the Whisper. Or I could attack into a face-down province. Now, a face-down province, I was actually thinking this game that it was either Meditations or Defend the Wall. I forgot that Flooded Wastes was a card now. So I was thinking if I hit Meditations, that's really good. I get... Doji Whisper has no fate, so he doesn't get to use it, and then I know where that is for the future. If I hit Defend the Wall, then I can favorable ground someone else in to try and win the attack, so he doesn't get to use the airing. But if it's not Defend the Wall, then I'm actually just fine with him getting the airing, because I still get the fate. And then even if I don't get to gain honor, I get my Fusui Disciple to dishonor one of his guys, which is always nice. So yeah, I do attack into a face down one here, and I am going to find Flooded Wastes. That's fine as well. My Whisper is going to bow, but I do have this favorable ground, so again, I can move somebody in here if I want to try and win and break this. So I think he is going to defend. I think defending is correct here. It's kind of a lose-lose because of the favorable ground. Again, that's kind of why favorable ground is such a good card. Like, If he defends here, then I'm fine because this guy gets bowed. If he doesn't defend here, I can favorable ground in and win, and then get the airing, which is good. So I'm happy no matter what here. Yeah, so Flooded Wastes, after this province is revealed, bow all attacking characters. He's going to put a Spyglass on the Witch Hunter. I am going to let go that, I believe. So, Spyglass, you generally want to let go as soon as possible. It's still correct to play as the crab player here, because you wanna be able to start drawing cards to build up your hand size. And if it draws a let go, then that's one less let go that gets used on like a reprieve or something. So that's good. Or it's not necessarily good, but you're fine with it. He is going to attack Earth here, so he's going to get that 2 fate. And I really don't want him to win this because he has 1 keeper already. He could find more keepers if he uses Satoshi. Although that would be a little bit dangerous, as the only Imperial card left in his deck is likely the Imperial Palace, which could be a face-down card here. The other reason I defend with both is because I have this favorable ground, so I don't have too much to worry about here. I'm going to go ahead and weigh the crane to honor Asami. He will play a Watch Commander. That's fine. I'll go ahead and pass. I'm still winning the conflict. Oh, and I realize now that I forgot to use meditations. That's, it happens. Just gotta be careful about that. I am gonna win the conflict though, so that's fine. And I don't really want to play this political rival here. He is gonna play a conflict character, the Nezumi. Once again, it's a little bit unfortunate that... Okay, let me pause real quick. It's a little bit unfortunate that he had to play the Nezumi here. Instead of playing... He couldn't play a skirmisher because it's political. And he only had 1 other Wayfinder, I guess. So I guess it's fine. Ideally, you want to use the Infiltrator's ability during a conflict to raise or lower the province strength, but even if you don't do that, playing a 1-1 for 1 is completely fine. I don't think you should really... I think he was saying at some point during this game that he wasn't sure if he was using the Infiltrators correctly. I think just using it as a 1-1 for 1 is fine. I'm going to go ahead and use my Disciple there to dishonor one of his characters. And I realized after I do this that it was actually a mistake not to do it earlier. I was thinking if he played like a skirmisher, I could dishonor that. And then it would have 0 military. But he has a political conflict left, so... Yeah. What I should have done was just dishonored the Witch Hunter while I had the chance. And then if I could have drawn a Noble Sacrifice on the next turn, killing the Witch Hunter would be really strong. Of course, he could have a reprieve, but still that would have been the correct play, I think. He is going to get to attack with this Infiltrator here. The other problem is the Crane Stronghold. So this is something that players forget about a lot. Like, even I've forgotten about it before in like competitive games. He's going to attack with the Infiltrator here. He attacks Void. I'm just going to Stronghold to bow him. If he has another conflict character, then kind of it's unfortunate, but not much I can do, except I don't really want to assassinate it. I'm actually going to, so this is kind of a funny play. I'm going to have favorable grounds to move in the Whisper and Shameful Display to honor it. you know, it's one more honor that I'll have at the end of the turn, so no reason not to do it. Um, I think it was a mistake for him to not attack with the firing there. I think not only was the firing actually just better, well, maybe not better, but the fact that it has one fate on it definitely makes it better here because that means that even if you lose this conflict, you're still getting the one fate. Um, he will be first player next turn, so he can attack firing, but yeah, I think that was a small mistake there. And I think this is where we do see the Karada District get discarded. I think I'm going to... Okay, I'm going to keep the Artisan. Again, if I play Artisan, I can cloud someone, which is always good. Yeah, and he does discard the Karada District. I think that's correct. And this is where I finally see Yoshi with 10 Fate as well. So... yeah, again, it was kind of risky to use Satoshi last turn. But not seeing the palace yet is pretty unfortunate for the crab player here. I think you definitely want to use Yoshi this turn, so you can guarantee not Yoshi, Satoshi this turn. Sorry. Um, but yeah, so let's look at the flips here. We have crab. Crab gets another Witch Hunter, 2 Vanguard Warriors, and a Shrewd Yasuki. Unfortunately, there are no holdings in play, so the Shrewd Yasuki is not really the best play here unless you have a rebuild. If you have a rebuild, then it's like really good. You can rebuild the Iron Mine. You probably want to play... Let's see. You have 9 Fate, so 2, 4... it depends on what he has in hand. I think I would just play the 2 Vanguard Warriors, and I think that is what he does. If you have a rebuild, I would play the Yasuki as well. Or what you could also do is you could use Satoshi first action, which would guarantee you get the palace. You don't know where it is on the deck, so it is, you do still have a small risk of milling your whole deck. But I think I would definitely use him first. Discard one of these Vanguard Warriors to put the palace into play. Probably put it on Manicured. The other one is Meditations. Yeah, probably on Manicured. And then play one of the Vanguard Warriors since you discarded the other one, and the Shrewd Yasuki. It's important to use Satoshi first action and discard one of the Vanguard Warriors instead of playing it, because if you play it, you risk that face down card being the palace, and then it's just not good. Like it's a 1 in 23, I guess, but you don't want to take that chance. Crane is probably going to play Yoshi and the Artisan. We'll see what I actually do, but I think that's the correct play, is play the Artisan first and then play Yoshi with some Fate. Yeah, so it looks like he is not going to do the Satoshi play. I'm actually going to play the Brash Samurai. That's fine as well. I think I should have played the Artisan, but oh well. And then I think I play Yoshi with 3 Fate here. He's going to play another Vanguard Warrior. Might as well just put 3 Fate on him, so it can last a long time. There's Fate on rings here, so I'm going to be getting some Fate back. He gets the passing Fate, that's fine. I'm going to draw 1 since I have a ton of cards, but not a ton of honor, and I get Admit Defeat. That's a really good top deck there. And he doesn't want to attack into Shameful Display, that's for sure. He also doesn't want to attack into Meditations with the Witch Hunter, although he can attack with anyone else pretty much. So there's a good chance of him attacking into one of my air provinces at some point, which means I get Fate. And I also have a lot of zero cost cards in my hand, so I think I'm just fine. Like, I don't really need the passing Fate or the extra Fate that I put on Yoshi. Just put 3 Fate on him so he lasts longer. So your game plan as Crab right now, again, since he didn't use Satoshi, I think that was a mistake. I think a lot of the mistakes that Crab made in this game came down to Satoshi usage. He is going to attack into Meditations with the Vanguard Warrior and the Rat. I'm going to defend with Asami. This is Political Fire. So it takes 2 Fate from the Fire Ring. Definitely the right play to do that. It's a pretty good amount of Fate. Attacking Political is interesting here. I'm going to defend with Asami and use her ability to steal an honor. Let's see what he does. So if you're attacking Political here, this is 2 skill. Yeah, I think this is a mistake as well. Like, I don't think there's any situation where you want to have 2 skill here. Unless maybe you have a court games for the Vanguard Warrior, I guess. I would have considered... So what I'm thinking is, if you have 2 skill, pretty much any defense will beat that. So if you're going to do that, just attack with one of these characters. You could also just attack with Satoshi. I kind of like that, actually. He's 4 skill, so I would have to defend with... Oh, I guess it's because of the Crane Stronghold, now that I think about it. Like, if I don't defend in Crane Stronghold, he still has a guy, so this forces me to defend. So that's actually fine, I think. I do still like attacking with just Satoshi, because with the Crab Stronghold, the more guys you have to defend, the more likely you are to win on defense, I think. And winning this attack would actually be really good, because you could, like, dishonor Yoshi or something. I do have the court games, so I should be able to honor him at some point. I think he's just going to let me have the win here. Yep, there's the pass. That's fine. So he got to bow my Asami. So at this point, I probably want to go for the Water Ring here. So the Void Ring would remove a Fate from the Witch Hunter, but he has these 2 Vanguard Warriors, and I have to imagine he has at least 1 Reprieve or Rebuild in hand by now. So it's very unlikely that I'm going to be able to kill either of these big characters here. The Water Ring will let me unbow Asami or bow his Satoshi. Either one of those would be fine. He can Vanguard Warrior to put a Fate on Satoshi to prevent the bow, but then I can just bow or unbow Asami, I mean. So again, either way, I'm just fine with that outcome. So I think I should go for Political Water here with Yoshi. Since he's already done his political attack, I can just send Yoshi in, honor him with my court games. Seems fine. Unbow Asami if I need another defender. I could also attack with the Bresh Samurai. I think we had some server errors at this point. Disconnect there. Let me skip ahead a little bit. Okay, yeah, so I actually do attack with just the Brash Samurai, and it is going to be Void, wow. So, not taking my own advice here. Um, yeah, I'm not sure why I'm doing this. I guess I just want to force him to use more saves so that his characters will leave play sooner. I think the watering was probably better. I don't know. Let's see what he defends with. We see no defense actually. So he's just going to let this Flooded Waste break. I think that's fine. I think that's actually correct here. Because again, I'm going to void you, but you have like so many saves probably that it just doesn't matter. Um, oh, I think he actually meant to defend with the Vanguard Warrior, but had a connection issue. Yeah. Um, yeah, so defending with the Vanguard Warrior, I think that's correct. You're fine if this breaks though, because like Flooded Waste, you actually don't want it to stick around because then they can just farm it. Um, Defending means you don't lose the honor, but it's not really a big deal probably at this point. So yeah, just an issue with the connection. Um, so we're gonna see him now attack Earth at Manicured Gardens. So I'm gonna start getting some Fate finally, which is pretty good. This is military with the Witch Hunter, so it's going to be 5 skill. So I think I defend with... Ooh, do I defend with Yoshi? So what I probably should have done here is play my katanas before the conflict. Since he has the Watch Commander. I think I was actually thinking about doing it, but decided not to for some reason. I'm not sure why. But I'm just going to defend with Yoshi and go ahead and use his ability to try and, I guess, to try to see another Miyamoto's Fury. I actually haven't seen any For Shames either. If I saw at least one For Shame, I could bow her with the Stewart there. But yeah, I think I just let him have this probably. Like I can play both katanas. I could play a bonsai actually. I think I do play the bonsai here. It's gonna cost me 2 honor. I think it was actually a mistake to defend with Yoshi instead of the Disciple because now I can't court games Yoshi. Um, if I get the airing, I can honor him, I guess. So, in fact, maybe I should have gone airing instead of void first. A lot of things that could have gone different this turn. But yeah, I'm gonna bonsai there. So if he has like any other military buff, then he can just win this. He is gonna pass though, so I actually do win, which is pretty good. It cost me 2 honor, but it's definitely worth it. Yeah, so server error there. The Witch Hunter ended up dying when it shouldn't have, so let me just skip ahead here. We're gonna put her back on the board, unbowed. So what he meant to do was sacrifice the Nezumi and then unbow her. So I am going to do an attack here with my Disciple. I know this face down one is Meditations now, so I can just go there. And I'm going to attack the airing. Again, this is pretty big because if I win this conflict, then I get to honor Yoshi. And yeah, I definitely made a mistake this turn. I should have defended with the Disciple in the first conflict instead of Yoshi so that I could attack with him and then honor him and probably win. I am going to get to dishonor one of his guys though. He should choose the Vanguard Warrior here. Ooh, he chooses the Witch Hunter. So that is actually a mistake. If I had Noble Sacrifice in hand, then I could just... Well, let's see if he has a reprieve that he plays or a rebuild. If he has one, he should definitely play it now. Ooh. Yeah, so uses Vanguard Warrior. So this is where a Noble Sacrifice just kills you, right? Like, I just sack my Brash Samurai and kill the Witch Hunter. So if he had a rebuild there, he definitely should have rebuilt an Iron Mine. Or if he had a reprieve, I would have played it on the Witch Hunter. Fortunately for him, I do not have the Noble Sacrifice, so he is fine, but it's a risk you don't want to take. Like, I have, how many cards is this? 5, 10, 13 cards. There's such a good chance that I have a Noble Sacrifice there that you don't want to take that risk. I'm going to keep the Artisan, and I am finally going to play her, it looks like. She's actually the only character I can play here, because the other two are unique. I'm going to get to put some more Fate on my guys, which is always good, and then I get a favorable grounds. I have a bunch of conflict characters in my hand as well, so I'm kind of just fine with this. Let's look at Crab's side. We see another Yasuki, a Kuniyori, Kudaka, and Kisada. So he had 15 Fate, which is a lot of Fate. So I think it's definitely correct to play both of your big guys here. You can play both of them with 2 Fate each. Playing the Shuryusuki is not that good unless you have a rebuild again, because favorable grounds I can just use it. So I think he does play both the big guys with 2 Fate, and I think that is correct. It might be worth playing Yasuki no Fate if you don't have a conflict character, so you would have a target for Witch Hunter. But yeah, I'm just going to use my dupes here. He's going to get the passing Fate. Plays Kasada with 1 Fate. So that's interesting. Oh. So it looks like I actually don't use my Yoshi dupe so that I can take the passing Fate. That seems good. I think you should have played Kasada with 2 Fate. I'm not sure why. Like, maybe there was something you wanted to save the 2 Fate for. I'm not 100% sure. It will be hard for him to get more Fate this turn, because unless I go into Manicured, which I probably will. Don't really want to go into Meditations with this board. I have the Cloud the Mind here. I'm going to think about who I want to play it on. There's a whole board of good Cloud the Mind targets here. He's going to bid 2 to get a couple cards, that's fine. Yeah, I have a pretty good lock on his hand here. And it's... Ooh, and I get a really good top deck as well, the Miyamoto's Fury. So, I think he's only seen 1 Spyglass so far, and it got let go. So, doing that really, like, helped me, keep control of his hand size. And based on what's been happening, it looks like he just doesn't have the cards in hand that he needs. That's another reason why you want to try to get those Shrewd Yasukis going early, or get a Spyglass going. Like, if you can get a Shrewd Yasuki into play really early with an Iron Mine or something, then you can just start building up that hand size. Or a Kudaka if you can win air rings, or you get a Spyglass, put it on somebody. Unfortunately, none of those worked out for him this game. So back to the Cloud. I do end up clouding Iori, which I think is probably correct here. Like, I just don't want Iori to... He's one of those cards that you don't want him to be hanging around using his abilities. Most of his worth is in the abilities on him. Like, he doesn't have the stats that Kasada has, the 7 military. And I'm not too worried about Kasada here. So I'm actually going to pass my conflict opportunity. That seems fine. In retrospect, I probably should have played a political rival and done a water attack to try and bow this Witch Hunter. I could covert the Witch Hunter. But I didn't do it, so oh well. This is where I play the Cloud. Just going to play that on Yori. With Crab, you're probably just fine with that. Like, that's one less Cloud on your guys to worry about. Kasada's still active. Witch Hunter's still active. It's not the end of the world. I am still saving a Let Go here. Even though he has a Watch Commander in play. Waiting for a bigger target for that. Went too far. I think I also, okay, I play my political rival here, and I'm going to play a Fine Katana as well. I'm trying to play cards before the first conflict starts because of this Watch Commander. I don't want to play cards during a conflict. I think about playing the second Katana. I don't think I actually do. Yeah, I don't actually do that. Probably could have just played it. Wouldn't have hurt. So, at this point, the watering doesn't do anything for him, but I think it might still be correct just to get that 2 fate. I say this a lot, but it depends on what's in your hand. 2 fate is pretty big, though. Again, I probably should have attacked with a political rival first with that watering to deny the fate from him. See what he decides to do here. So he's going to attack with the Witch Hunter at Manicured Gardens. Interesting. So, yeah, we definitely want to talk about this. So he decides to do a military fire conflict at the Manicured Garden with the Witch Hunter. So, I mean, first of all, you should attack at Meditations, right? That's just free since you have no fate on your character. This way you're giving me a fate. Not a big mistake, but still a mistake. Firing. So, he's going to try and dishonor Yoshi, I guess. I still think watering might have actually been correct, depending on what is in his hand. You could have also done Earth. I think Earth might actually be better than Fire here. You only have one Keeper Initiate, though, so... Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Fire is... It's not a huge mistake. I think it's fine, actually. But I would have definitely considered water. So let's see what happens. I think I defend with Yoshi. Yep. And so here I can use the Asahina Artisan. So you have to, whenever you're playing against Crab and Kasada is on the board, you have to remember that he's active, right? Asahina Artisan will get rid of that cancel so I can use another ability. Yeah, I'm going to defend with Yoshi, it looks like. So yeah, I probably should have played the second sword during the conflict. Oh. Wait. Okay, I actually used Manicured Garden for Kasada. So that's fine as well, I guess. I don't really need the fate. Maybe should have used the Artisan, but that's okay. I'm going to Miyamoto's Fury the Witch Hunter. So if he has a conflict character, he can play it here and sacrifice it to unbow the Witch Hunter, which he is going to do. So I think I should assassinate the Wayfinder. It feels kind of bad because it's essentially costing me 4 honor. 3 for the assassinate and an additional 1 because of the watch commander. And it loses to him having another conflict character. So I could also play the katana. Maybe I'm thinking about that. Or I could use Yoshi's ability. Okay, I'm just going to pass. Let him go ahead and use the Witch Hunter. And now I play the katana? Or maybe I favorable ground home? More connection issues, I think. Yeah, I'm thinking about this a lot. I am going to favorable ground home here, so I'm just going to let him have this break. I got him to spend a conflict character and spend his Witch Hunters ready, so that's actually really good. So the question here is, what does he actually get out of this break? I think what I would have actually done if I were playing Crab here is, after the Miyamoto's Fury, I actually would have just passed, and then if Yoshi favorable grounds home, you can play the Wayfinder into the conflict and win, and then unbow the Witch Hunter afterwards, maybe. I think I definitely disagree with the line of play, though, because giving up this break and this firing is not really a big deal. I have a really big board here, so I'm going to get to swing back. And having used the Witch Hunter is pretty big because it actually does put him at risk of losing the game here. So firing's going to dishonor Yoshi. Not a very big risk, probably, but definitely have to worry about it. So it looks like I'm going to do Political Air with Yoshi at Manicured. Seems good. I have Admit Defeat. If he only defends with one guy, I can just Admit Defeat and break. I have Court Games. Have a bunch of fans. So yeah, I should be able to just break here. I actually got Meditations to deny him the fate. Again, this probably actually should have been the water ring. I'm not sure why I went air here. Because if I'm trying to deny him the fate, then I just take water, right, and deny all the fate. Or even void would have probably been better than air. I'm really not sure why I went air. It's kind of weird. But that is what's going to happen. He will defend with Satoshi. And I probably just admit defeat here. Yeah, so if I defend with water, that's just like, or if I attack with water, sorry, that's just like better, I think. Water or void. Defender's winning. See if he passes. If he has a conflict character, he could play it into the conflict here. Kasada's active, so passing is actually fine because I still have to do something about that. I'm going to use the Artisan to get past Kasada, and now I can admit defeat. Seems good. Just break this province. He's going to Stronghold. Here comes admit defeat. And I think he's actually out of conflict characters. No, he has another rat that he could have played into this conflict, but unfortunately the Hiruma Skirmishers since they have a dash political, they can't be used here. Uh, yeah, so once again, whenever you're playing against Crane, you have to keep in mind that they might have admit defeat at any given time. Ooh, I finally find my 4 shames here with the Yoshi. I'm gonna honor a friendly character with the court games. I think he might have one to dishonor me. Let's see. Either way, yeah, he does. Either way, I'm gonna be able to break. I think I just put a fan on him. Yep. So I'm gonna break meditations. I'm gonna get the earring. I'm gonna steal an honor. That's something I should probably mention real quick, is discarding cards when you break a province. So if you're playing against the Seeker clan, you pretty much always want to discard because they have no keeper initiates. If you're playing against a Keeper clan, you usually don't want to discard unless they have all 3 or like 1 or 2 keeper initiates in the discard already, and you think there's a good chance of hitting something good. Against Crab, it's even worse to discard because it can mill holdings that they can rebuild. Like I could have hit Imperial Palace there, and then he could have rebuilt it onto the Unbroken Province, which would be pretty bad. So yeah, usually against Crab you just don't discard. Against Unicorn you don't discard either because they have cavalry reserves, stuff like that. But yeah, so he has 1 conflict left. It is political, so I can defend with my political rival. Seems good. I have the 2-4 shames and the Steward of Law as well, so I should be able to nullify any attack he makes here. I think he should attack water to get the fate and try to unbow a character. Like, that 2 fate water ring has just been sitting here for too long. Somebody's got to take it. It's going to attack at Fertile Fields. Kind of has to at this point. This is the last conflict. Oh yeah, I passed my first conflict, so I won't have another one here. So he's just going to go all in on the Void Ring. Ooh, so yeah, that is a mistake, not attacking water there, because if you lose this conflict now, which you very likely will, you just get nothing, right? Whereas if you had attacked Water Ring and you lost the conflict, you still got 2 fate. So I think this is just a mistake. And again, I should be able to win this conflict no matter what. And I get Fertile Fields to draw a card as well. Let's see what happens. He's going to play a fan. I should have Crane Strongholded first action to bow Casada, but it's not really going to matter. Again, with the Steward and the 4 shames, there's no way he's going to win this. He only has 5 cards in hand as well. So yeah, just going to be a pass. And it was probably a mistake. And I'm hovering over my let go here. I'm like, okay, go ahead and play a reprieve. I got the let go ready. He only has 1 fate as well. And I think he later said that he actually had all 3 reprieves in hand, and just made the mistake of not playing them. So yeah, I think you definitely should have gone Water Ring and played. You just play all 3 reprieves, and I let go 2 of them. Yeah, he realizes that he made a mistake. But yeah, the other thing that happened was there's now a 3 fate Water Ring. Oh, he's going first though, so that's fine. He can just go water. 3 fate, you don't see that too often though. So I'm going to do my Yoshi dupe. He gets a Borderlands Defender and a Witch Hunter. Borderlands Defender is pretty good, just play that. I'm going to go ahead and play Kudaka, I think. Seems good. Like, my board is just so much better than his at this point. And he's actually down to 1 honor as well. Since So yeah, I guess I went the Earth Ring because he had 2 Dishonored characters leaving play. I just wanted to pressure that honor. He has 3 Broken Provinces now as well, so I'm free to attack his stronghold. I see another Cloud the Mind. I'm going to Cloud Casada. We both bid 1. He plays a Spyglass. At this point, I just let go of the Spyglass because the game isn't going to be going much longer anyway, so Reprieve has sort of passed the point of being useful, so I'm just going to spend those let goes on whatever I need to. He's going to attack Meditations with Casada on a political. Let's see, what do I do about this? I definitely want to win this because it's air and I have Kudaka in play. What I could do is just play Stewart and force shame him. It looks like I'm going to defend with Yoshi, though. I could also just double for shame, I guess. No, I'm going to play the Stewart for shame. Play him with 1 fate, why not? I'm going to get this 3 fate water ring. Again, I think it was a mistake to not attack the water ring. At this point, you're kind of going to lose anyway. But yeah, I think there were a lot of opportunities this game where he could have taken a ring that had a lot of fate on it and chose not to, and then still lost the conflict. So that's kind of why rings with fate on them are so good, because even if you lose the conflict, you still got the fate, so you just don't even care. There's the force shame. And that's going to be it for this conflict, I believe. Yeah, and again, I hadn't played a single for shame yet that game. Oh, he didn't realize Casada was clouded, it looks like. But if Casada wasn't clouded, I could have used the Crane Stronghold on my Steward of Law, and it would have taken away the cancel. And I had 2 for shames anyway, so yeah, it didn't matter either way. I just have all the cards I need at this point. Like, if Crane hasn't played a single for shame, then you have to expect that they're going to play one at some point. So I'm going to win that conflict. I'm going to get Kudaka, draw a Formal Invitation. Interesting card. Don't get a chance to play it this game. And so now I definitely want to go water. But yeah, the other thing is I have Asami here, so I think the game is just over. I can just go all in political, covert Yori. Don't even send the rival, yeah. Oh, no, I do send the rival, yeah. So all in political, covert Yori, ancestral lands, and use Asami. And that's going to be the game. Take the last honor there. Yep. So yeah, that's going to be that game. So again, just real quick, I think one of the biggest things that Kreb could have done better that game was better use of Satoshi. I think playing Satoshi on turn 1 instead of Kudaka would have been better, and then hopefully seeing the Imperial Palace sooner and getting more Keeper Initiates discarded. And then again, the other thing was at certain points attacking rings that had fate on them. Like this water ring just like built up a bunch of fate on it, right? Like I made that mistake too. There were points where I should have attacked the water ring when it had fate on it, and I didn't. If anyone has any questions about this matchup, Crab versus Crane, or just any general questions about playing Crab, definitely let me know. You can comment on this video, and I'll go ahead and answer them. Also, if anyone has any games that they would like me to review, I would be happy to do some more reviews. We could maybe turn this into a series of some sort. If you just, like, if you record your game and you send me the video, I can go ahead and do a review of it. I should probably mention again that I am a crab player, so any clan that is not crab, I probably won't know how to play as well as crab, but I do stream a lot of matches for the Discord League, and I have seen a lot of really good players playing a lot of different clans, so I should be able to give some good advice regardless of what clan you are playing. So yeah, thank you to Gurggy for playing this game with me. I think that's pretty much going to be it. I'll go ahead and link the deck lists in the description. Like I said again, I think a lot of deck lists are going to be changing a lot after the elemental cycle finishes up. Crane are getting a lot of good cards in the last 2 packs. But that is going to do it for this video, so thank you everyone for watching, and I will see you in the next one.